When I arrived at my aunt's house, nestled deep in a small southern town, I expected a warm welcome, but the air felt heavy, filled with unspoken memories. The house was old, creaking wooden floors and walls lined with black and white photos of ancestors I'd never met. Aunt Margaret told me the house had been in the family for generations, but there was a secret she never spoke of, something tied to the very foundation of the home. At night, the silence was never quite silent. Footsteps echoed in the hallways, slow and deliberate. I convinced myself it was just the house settling or my aunt moving about. But when the footsteps stopped right outside my door and faded away, I knew something else was there. Watching, waiting. The feeling of eyes on me was almost suffocating, yet I was drawn deeper into the house's shadowed history. One locked door at the end of the hallway caught my attention. Aunt Margaret always locked it before bedtime and whispered a soft prayer. When I asked about it, she only said, "Some doors are best left closed." That door seemed to guard secrets far heavier than any other part of the house, and every night it haunted my thoughts, urging me to uncover what lay behind it. During the day, I wandered through the house, studying the faded photographs. Many had no names. Faces stared silently, their eyes filled with pain and resilience. Aunt Margaret told me the pictures were of ancestors who had lived through some of the darkest times in our history. Stories of struggle, hope, and survival that were rarely spoken about outside these walls. One evening, the power went out without warning. The house plunged into darkness, except for the flickering of candles. In the quiet, Aunt Margaret shared stories, tales of people who hid in the house during dangerous times, stories of resistance and sacrifice. Her voice trembled as she spoke, and I could feel the weight of history pressing down on us, thick as the shadows surrounding the candlelight. That night, whispers floated through the air, low, urgent voices begging to be heard. I followed the sounds to the locked basement door, which was slightly ajar. Fear and curiosity warred inside me. I knew opening it would change everything, but I couldn't stop myself. The darkness beyond was deep and endless, filled with echoes of lives long past but never forgotten. Inside the basement, old chains hung from the walls, and names were carved into the stone, etched by trembling hands decades ago. I traced the names with trembling fingers, feeling connected to those who had suffered and fought to protect their families. The room was both a prison and a sanctuary, holding stories that textbooks never told, but that demanded remembrance. Suddenly, the basement door slammed shut behind me. Darkness swallowed the space, and the candlelight flickered out. Whispers turned to voices, a chorus of sorrow, hope, fear, and courage. It became clear that history was not just something to study, but something alive, present, and demanding respect. I was no longer just a visitor. I was part of this story. I woke up outside the basement hours later, gasping for air. Aunt Margaret waited, tears in her eyes. She explained that the house was a living memorial, a place where the past never truly died. Black History Month was more than celebration. It was a time to listen, to remember the pain and the power carried by generations before me. The following days were quiet but charged with energy. Symbols and signs from the past appeared everywhere, carved initials in wooden beams, faded writings in hidden corners. I felt the presence of ancestors guiding me, urging me to honor their legacy by telling their stories. The house was a bridge, connecting the past to the present in ways I hadn't imagined possible. One afternoon, I found a dusty journal filled with letters and accounts from family members who had lived through slavery and segregation. Their words told of secret meetings, escape plans, and coded messages passed in silence. I realized how fragile their lives were and how strong their spirits had to be to survive and fight. Holding the journal, I felt a deep responsibility to keep their memories alive. The nights grew colder and the house creaked louder. I heard singing, spiritual songs filled with pain and hope, echoing through the halls. It was like the voices of ancestors had found a way to reach me, guiding me to understand their struggles. I followed the music to the locked basement door, now fully open, its darkness no longer just frightening, but inviting. Exploring the basement further, I discovered hidden rooms filled with relics, old quilts, handmade tools, and faded photographs. The space was a treasure trove of history, a sacred place that held the essence of a family's courage and endurance. Each artifact spoke of lives lived in defiance of hatred and injustice, of hope amidst despair. Aunt Margaret shared a story of a relative who risked everything to protect runaway slaves. The tale was filled with danger, betrayal, and ultimately survival. It was a reminder that the fight for freedom was personal and ongoing. Her voice broke as she spoke, and I could feel the weight of history, living legacy that shaped who we are today. One evening, the basement door creaked open by itself. I hesitated, then stepped inside. The air was thick with memories, and I felt a presence standing beside me. The walls seemed to whisper names, faces flickered in the candlelight, and I understood that I was surrounded by those who refused to be forgotten. Their stories were etched not only in stone, but in my heart. The following morning, I found fresh scratch marks on my arms, as if the house itself was marking me, a reminder of the connection between past and present. I knew that my visit was more than a family reunion. It was a calling to bear witness, to carry forward the stories that shaped my bloodline. The house was no longer just a place, it was a living history. I spent hours reading letters and diaries, piecing together family stories that had been hidden away for generations. Each narrative revealed the cost of freedom, the sacrifices, the heartbreaks, the small victories. I felt honored and burdened by the responsibility to tell these tales, to ensure they were never lost or silenced again. The last night before I left, the house seemed to breathe with a life of its own. Shadows moved softly, and I heard distant laughter and cries, as if the past and present were intertwining. Aunt Margaret held my hand and said, "This house is our history, our spirit. It lives in us, through us. Never forget that." Leaving the house was bittersweet. The heavy silence I had felt on arrival had transformed into a powerful presence, a constant reminder of those who came before. I promised myself that I would honor their legacy, not just during Black History Month, but every day. The stories of pain and perseverance, loss and love had become a part of me. As I drove away, I glanced back at the house standing strong against the setting sun. It was more than wood and stone. It was a monument to resilience. The spirits of ancestors seemed to watch over it, guarding the past while inspiring the future. I knew I'd never forget that Black History Month, a month that changed my understanding of history, family, and myself.
This happened during Black History Month last year. I was volunteering as a night guide at a historic site that had been turned into a small museum. The building was old, early 1800s, and carefully preserved. During the day, it felt calm, quiet, educational. People walked through in small groups, they read plaques, they listened to stories. But once the doors closed, the building felt different. Not loud, not aggressive, just heavy, like it was holding something inside. My supervisor's name was Wilson. Wilson had worked there for years. He didn't joke much, didn't exaggerate. On my first night, Wilson told me clearly, once the final check is done, no one should be inside. He emphasized it more than necessary. I asked him why. He paused before answering, then said, "Because history doesn't always stay quiet." I laughed it off. He didn't. My job was simple. Lock the main doors, check each floor, turn off lights, report anything unusual. The building had 3 levels. The lower level held old records and preserved documents, names, dates, ownership logs, things people glanced at during the day but avoided reading closely. The upper floors were exhibits and sealed rooms, rooms that were no longer open to the public. The first thing I noticed at night was the silence, not normal silence, the kind where even your own breathing sounds too loud. No traffic noise, no wind, no distant sounds, just the building. Around 1:30 a.m., I finished my first round. Everything was off, everything was locked. That's when I saw the light. The records room light was on. I knew I had turned it off. I stood there staring at it longer than I should have. I told myself maybe someone forgot earlier. When I stepped inside, the room felt colder. One of the document folders was open. I didn't remember opening it. The page showed a list of names. Most were faded. One wasn't. The ink looked fresh. The name was written by hand. I won't say the name, but I will say this. It wasn't part of the original exhibit. At 2:04 a.m., the building went completely still. Then I heard it, a dragging sound above me, slow, heavy, metal against wood. I froze. I didn't want to believe what it sounded like, but my body reacted before my brain could explain it. I called Wilson. He answered immediately. I told him what I heard. There was a long pause. Then he said, "Did you go near the sealed hallway?" I said no. He told me to leave the building immediately. Before I could ask why, the line went dead. I didn't leave. I don't know why. The sound came again, closer. I followed it upstairs. At the end of the hallway was a door that was never supposed to be opened. Tonight, it was open. Inside were deep grooves on the floor, scratches like something heavy had been pulled there repeatedly. The air changed, not colder, thicker. I felt watched, not threatened, observed, like something was aware I was finally seeing it. I whispered, "Hello?" The sound stopped. Then I heard something else, breathing. Not mine. I ran. I didn't lock anything. I didn't turn anything off. I just ran. The moment I stepped outside, the building went dark. Every light gone. The next morning, Wilson met me. I told him everything. He didn't look surprised. He said something I'll never forget. Every February, someone hears it. He told me the building wasn't haunted. He said it was remembering. I quit that day. I never went back. But sometimes, late at night, I hear that dragging sound in my dreams, and I wake up knowing one thing. Some places don't let history rest. They carry it. We like to believe time erases everything, but some buildings remember, and sometimes they remind us.